What's up, carp freaks, and welcome to Carp Life. Today you join me at an undisclosed venue in Lincolnshire. Now, if you've seen the recent challenge, episode 18, you may think this looks quite familiar. That's because it's the reservoir we fished during that challenge. Now that happened in September though, so I'll tell you a little bit more about how that went in next month's Carp Life. But today I'm here hopefully to try and catch a few fish for you. Now, it's been a really cold night last night. First frost of the year, we're only into mid-September, first frost of the year. So I just hope the carp are gonna play ball. But right now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get myself set up, and that'll give me a chance to tell you what I got up to at the start of August.
Weren't blue dye in your lake?
No. What it was, driving here, I ran over an alien and I tried to perform CPR by the roadside, but unfortunately it was too late and I was unable to save him. He was bleeding quite heavily. In the end, I just had to sort of throw the corpse in the bushes and hide the evidence. So yeah, that's what happened. Well, I've literally just cast the rod out. I thought it was going to be quite tricky today. Before I started setting up, I baited up with quite a lot of pellet, and yeah, just made the first cast, and probably 2 minutes later the rod ripped off. And we've got a nice little fat mirror. Yay, that was a nice start. How cool is he? Got a little chunky mirror of about, well, it doesn't look very big, but I tell you what, it weighs, I bet it's about £5 plus, that one. It's just a mini chunk. Not massive, but when I'm only here for a couple of hours, it's a good bit of fun. Well, at the end of the last Carp Life, I was down at Old Mill Lakes in Lincolnshire, and that's where we pick up. That's where we pick up on this month. I was down there with Jay for 48 hours tutorial on Willow Lake. It proved to be quite tough going. Really warm conditions, temperatures approaching 30 degrees, which was kind of typical for the summer that we had. And we weren't really on the fish. A lot of the fish seemed to be in the middle section of the lake. We were on the end where it was really weedy, and it's where I thought the fish would be, to be honest. In conditions like that, I'd imagine the fish to be held up in the weed, but for some reason they were just out in the open water. But we still managed to catch some fish. Jay ended up catching a really nice £19 common. So just slacken your clutch off a bit now. He's well clear of all that weight. Don't go dead slack or anything like that. So we're about 24 hours into the session. It's been really tough going. There hasn't been many fish in our area at all. But Jay is up and running with this awesome looking £19 common.
Bang on the nose.
Yeah.
£19.
Well done,
Absolute
mate.
Stunner. With a nice, beautiful scale.
Yeah, very distinctive mark, isn't it, that?
Fantastic. Thanks, Mark.
No, all you fished really well, like I say, it has been tough going. There hasn't been that many fish down this end of the lake, so yeah, I'm well chuffed with this one, as I'm sure you are.
Oh yes, 100%.
And then, going into the final night, I managed to chip in with this awesome common. The size of that mouth. Yeah. We're just going into darkness on the second night of the session, and I repositioned one of the rods with again a Pacific tuna wafter hook bait with a 3-bait stringer, cast towards where I saw a decent fish roll. Half hour later, he rattles off with this real nice chunky 28-pound 11-ounce common. I'm absolutely buzzing with this. The following day I was back home because it was my youngest daughter Francesca's 8th birthday. Now, for a special day, she asked us to take her to Goathland, which actually isn't that far from where I live. And as anyone over the age of 30 will know, that's where they filmed the TV programme Heartbeat, which is set in the 1960s. I've got to say, it really is like stepping back in time. On the night, she had a little birthday party with a few of her friends round. And once again, I've got to say a massive thank you to Abby, who does just the most amazing cakes. The very next day, I was back down Old Mill for more tutorial sessions, and I started the week with Steve. Now, Steve had actually been there 24 hours before I arrived, and he'd caught a few fish, albeit fish of a fairly small stamp by Old Mill standards. So we had a bit of a change of tactics, and it wasn't too long before we managed to get into something a little bit bigger. Want me to land him?
Huh?
Want me to land him?
If you want mine,
Yeah, certainly.
that'd be a pleasure.
Right, you step to your... Here he comes. The net's stuck. There he comes. Oh yes.
Watch out. Not bad fish.
He'll do nicely.
Right.
So 24 hours in the session, and Stephen has just had this banging looking mirror. Go on, tell us a bit about it.
24/7.
24
Out of the
£7.
blue, we were just having a bite ourselves, and this one decided he wanted a bite. Middle rod, off it went, and this beauty came out of the glinting sunlight in the water. And yeah,
Very poetic.
very welcome. So cheers, Mark. Successful tuition again.
Definitely, mate. It's
Cheers.
an awesome fish. It looks
It is.
amazing. Proper chunk. Well done.
CC Moore strikes again. Cheers.
Now, during that session, we just employed a really simple, out-and-out boilie approach. Didn't bother with any pellets or particles or anything like that. And hook bait wise, again, it's just a boilie bottom bait. Now, for the best part of the summer, I've switched over to the Pacific tuna, and I really have been boosting them to the max. I've been soaking them in the hot chorizo liquid for at least 48 hours before the session. In fact, I've normally got a bag or two in the back of the van soaking away. The liquid itself almost acts as like a preservative, so even when using fresh freezer baits, I know I can coat all of the baits in the liquid, leave them in the back of the van for a week or two, and they won't go off. And I think the longer you can leave them, the better. When it comes to the actual session itself, what I do then is add a generous amount of the crayfish meal. So that does two things really. The baits will be quite tacky to the touch, having soaked in all the liquid, and then the powder sticks them to form like a nice attractive crust. So that really does boost the attraction levels, but it also makes them a lot easier for baiting up with, catapulting out and things like that, so they're not sticking in the catapult. By keeping the baits going in on a little and often basis, we're able to keep the bites coming. And Steve was able to add a couple more fish to his tally by the end of his session. Hold that pose.
I'm holding the pose.
Great. What would Ali Hamidi do right now?
Well,
You'd give it the thumbs up and go.
yes!
I think that's more Danny Fairbrass. I don't know.
That's Ali Meady. More,
That was it.
yeah?
You got the face and everything, it's brilliant. After Steve, I then had Adam for 24 hours. And once again, we carried on using the same boilie approach. And it wasn't too long before he got things up and running. Yes. Top man.
Oh, yes. Yes. Made up.
So there he is, your first fish of the session. And what a fish, eh?
Yeah. Oh, God.
So, yeah, going into the session, your PB common was
17 and a half.
17 and a half. And then this fella rolls in the net, put it on the scales. It was close, wasn't it? What did I say it was?
17.4.
17.4. But its real weight is
23.13.
23.30. New PB common.
Oh, God.
What a way to open the session.
I can't remember the last time I held a fish this heavy.
That's awesome, mate. I'm absolutely buzzing for you.
Oh, look at that.
There he goes. Awesome work, mate. Awesome work. Well done. Seeing Adam get that fish and the excitement, the emotion and the buzz was absolutely incredible, and that is why I love doing what I do. As well as Steve and Adam catching a few fish, I also got the rods out on this occasion, and it ended up being a really good session for me too. Well, it's a grey, damp, quite breezy morning. Perfect fishing conditions, really. And as I was saying, perfect fishing conditions. I've got one sat in the retainer there. I was just waiting for a break in the rain to photograph him, and one of the other rods rattled off, and we've got two nice fish there. Just wait for the rain to ease off a little bit and we'll take a closer look at them. I'm just waiting for this rain to ease before we deal with these fish, take some photos and a little video. But right now I'm in no great rush to get the rods back out in the water. This is very much bite time at the moment, and I don't really want to be recasting and disturbing any fish that may be feeding in the area. Although I'm not fishing on a baited spot or anything like that, I'm just fishing these 4-bait stringers. These fish are pressured and they do respond very quickly to any angling pressure, and I think a recast could probably do me more harm than good at the moment. I mean, it's obviously worked for me this morning because I've had 2 bites in quick succession. After I caught that first fish, it was absolutely chucking it down, so I put him in the retainer for a short while, and then just propped the rod against the bivvy, because I was hopeful of a second bite, and it was only just probably 5 minutes later, the second rod was away. So it's already worked once, and you know, I think there's a chance of another bite yet this morning. Well, this was the first fish in this morning's little flurry of activity, and I seriously underestimated this one. I put this fish around £15. Even when it went in the net, I put it about £15, and I was wrong by a good £10. This fish was 25.5, a proper old mill chunk. It's so deceiving that they're so solid, these fish, proper units. So this is the second fish from this morning's brace, and it's another 20 pounder, 21 pound, 7 ounces. Another real nice solid chunky fish. It's been a pretty damp, soggy morning, but it's been great fishing conditions.
Lovely. Well done, mate. Excellent.
So this is my third fish of the session, and another 20 pounder, 21 pound, 1 ounces. And this fish fell just to another 4-bait stringer, cast towards the centre of the lake where I'd seen a few fish fizzing up, and the bite came in the middle of the day in about 15 feet of water. So this is a nice little bonus as far as I'm concerned. So this is my fourth and probably final fish from a session here at Old Mill. Time is running out now, but we've got another 20 pounder, 21 pound, 9 ounces this one. The average size this trip has been absolutely fantastic. It really has been one hell of a session. Well, after that first bite, I thought it was going to be kind of non-stop, but it's been about an hour since I had that first fish. And even then, this bite's come on the other rod, fish down to the left. I've not had any more action on that rod. It's crazy, really. Cast out, get a fish within 2 minutes, and then nothing. So we've got another nice chunky little mirror here. It's certainly not a monster, but it's still great fun on a very cold autumn morning. Oh, that was silly. Oh, look at him powering off. By now we were into the middle of the month, and although I hadn't managed to find the time to do the work down the lake I would have liked to have done, everything did seem to be settling down there nicely. All the work we did in the winter, when the place just resembled a bomb site, was now starting to become a bit of a distant memory. Nature was once again returning, everything was growing up. We even had a family of barn owls nesting in one of the nest boxes around the lake. Now, something else happened, which is the first for the lake actually, and that is we had carp fry in there for the first time ever. So I'm just down the lake now. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but there's a shoal of carp fry, and they are feeding. You can sort of see them over there. They are feeding on a shoal of other carp fry. Now, the fish in the lake have spawned twice this year. They spawned in May, and then they spawned again about a month later. And there's a huge difference in there's a huge difference in the size. You got a shoal there of carp which are probably about 3 inches long. They're quite big actually for their age. And they're chasing around these fry, which are kind of about the size of your little fingernail. There they go. But yeah, if you look at them there, they are very predatory. They are they're eating all the tiny fry. So yeah, predatory even at this very early stage in their life. So you can imagine what they're like when they get older and get bigger. It's great to watch. Now, although the lake is a well-established lake, we dug it back in 1994, and the carp have always spawned successfully in the summers. Like I said, this is the first time that we have had fry in the lake. Now, up until this winter, there was always good stocks of roach and perch and pike, predators that would either eat the carp fry or eat the carp's eggs. But after the drain down and the desilting, all these fish were removed, so it is now just carp in there, which means the fry survival rate has been very high indeed. Now, it's a good thing and also a bad thing, really. It's nice to have the fry growing on, but at the same time I don't want the lake overrun with small fish, so when it's opened people are catching 2 and 3 pounders. That can't happen. Now, the carp actually spawned twice this year. They spawned in mid-May and then about 4 weeks later, and as you saw from that last little video clip, there's a huge difference in size, although it's only 4 weeks apart. So what I'm going to try and do is just remove as many of the tiny the June spawning as possible, and the May spawning, which are a much bigger fish. I'm trying to rehome them into the stock ponds. So it's been a case of setting traps down. I managed to get hold of quite a few crayfish traps, which I've been baiting with pellets, and they have been working quite well. The only thing is it hasn't been catching the small fish because they've been able to get out of the holes in the mesh. But as for catching the larger fry, it's been working pretty successfully. Well, I put the trap in a new place last night, and we've got a cracking haul this morning. Look at them. There's some absolute belters in there. There must be, oh, I don't know, 30 of them in there. Yeah, and there's some proper fat ones. Oh, they look epic. Well, I set this trap a little deeper last night and baited it with some big pellets inside the trap itself. And we've got something which I wouldn't say I wasn't expecting, but it's a nice bonus. We've got a tench. Now, I had thought I'd removed all of these, bearing in mind the lake was drained down completely. There was no water in it at all anywhere, just a few areas of liquid mud, if you like, which was just inches deep. And obviously this tench has survived in that liquid slop, and I don't think he'll be the only one. But I know he isn't, because I've seen one swimming around about £5. So how we missed that, I don't know. But yeah, that's a nice little result, getting him out. Well, these are just a few of the bigger fish that I've netted out of the main lake today. Now, they did have 2 spawn-ins in the lake this year. They spawned in the May and they spawned in the June. I'm guessing these will be the ones that spawned in the May time, because they are significantly larger than the rest. I mean, that's absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Stunning fish. What's he like on his other side? Awesome, that, isn't it? And I'm putting these in the stock pond. There you go, mate. What else have we got? Proper chunky common there. Proper chunky one, that. That's the biggest one so far. Look at him. go. And there was a fully scaled as well. The common. Which one is it? Oh, that's another chunky mirror. It's got an orange spot there. Some sort of koi in him. Oh, I hope these aren't getting eaten. There's two fish just come in right up where I'm sat. What else have we got? That's another banger. Beautiful that. This must be the fully scaled then. Yeah, that one. That's special. And it's pretty much a common on that side, but it is a fully scaled. And that's just one sweep with the net. So yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few of them in the main lake. The fry removal is going to be something that will be ongoing. I will be getting the lake netted in the spring to try and remove as many as I can. The last thing I want is people catching 1-2 pound fish when the lake opens. That just can't happen. But to be honest, I think the cormorants and goosander will do a good job of keeping them in check. Last winter we probably had around 20 goosander and maybe a dozen cormorants on there all winter, and when we actually drained the lake down, there was probably only 10 pound of silverfish left. That was it. They'd absolutely decimated all the small fish. But either way, the lake will be getting netted, and then going forward I will be introducing perch as well, just so that the fry don't all survive quite with the same amount of success that they have done this summer. But yeah, the perch will have to wait till the spring before I put them in, because otherwise I'm just going to be paying to feed the cormorants. After spending the weekend at home with the kids, the following week I was down at East Elf Lakes for more tutorials, and I started the week with Dad and Lad, Andrew and 12-year-old Henri. Sort of like it's heavy, just supporting like that if you need to like pull as well. Your clutch nice and slack if it wants to do it. That's it. Yeah. There it is. Two steps back, here we go. Yes! That's awesome. Fist. So we're off to a flyer on Henri's second cast of the session, I think it was. Expertly cast as well, I've got to say, right up against the branches of the willow on the island. And we've got this lovely mirror of about £13. Really good start. You did awesome as well. Casting was perfect, controlled the float line with a little tiny splash, and you played it like a star as well. Well done. It's all very happy.
Yeah.
This is your first ever nighttime fish.
Yeah.
Beautiful fish as well, that.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Great work. See, that's how you play them, Dad.
Yeah.
Give them a bit of pressure. That's it, yeah, nicely done. So Henri has just put back his third carp of the session, and now James, the fishery owner, has just popped down to punish me for a cup of tea.
It's like a desert in your swim.
Yeah.
It's like a desert.
Actually, I thought while James is here, we'll have a bit of a walk around the lake, tell you a bit more about it, and also tell you why this is one of the venues I've decided to hold my tutorial sessions on. Now I remember when you first opened here, it wasn't that long ago, was it 2014?
April 2014.
Yeah.
Over.
So yeah, just 4 years, and yeah, I came here not long after. Actually, it was probably about April when I fished it, and back then, what did it? There was only what, a couple of 20s in it back then.
No,
wasn't there?
the biggest fish back then was 18 pounds.
Oh really?
And when I took over, it was a match lake. There was still a number of match bookings I honoured, but decided to take the lakes a different direction.
Yeah.
And basically netted all 3 lakes and removed the smaller fish, and set the path down as a carp fishery, a 24-hour carp fishery.
I mean, now that there is quite a good number of 20. This is one of the reasons why I come here, because there is such a good chance for someone to catch their first 20.
Yeah, I mean the last year we did a count and got to 57 20s.
Really?
That are 100% confirmed.
And there's
In
a
the
30
2-acre
now as
back
well,
lake.
isn't there? There's a 30.
Yeah, we had our first 30 last year. I mean, the growth rates have been absolutely phenomenal. They've the long, skinny kind of stock has sort of bulked out in weight and thrived on the boilies and thrived on the pellets.
Yeah.
And also thrived on the extra space they've been given.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, being a lifelong carp angler myself, I've always tried to, when I have tried to create something that I'd want to buy myself. So yeah, I've always said right from the beginning, I wouldn't sell a ticket unless I buy it myself.
Yeah.
So that knowledge of lifelong carp fishing has helped me design the swim layout properly, and also look after the anglers that come here.
It has come on. Well, it's a completely different lake, isn't it, to when I first came here. Actually, just have a walk around and one of my. Oh, actually, we're at a peg. Is this the creepy caravan peg?
Creepy caravan peg. We're just coming up to the creepy caravan
This is
itself
one
on the right.
creepy caravan.
It's not very nice. I mean, I can tell you there's 2 or 3 pairs of single boots in there.
Really?
Just the left-hand boots. I don't know why, but it's not very nice what happened in there in the past, I'm thinking.
So this is the infamous creepy caravan at East Elf Lakes. There it is. There we go. So you're going to film inside? I'm not coming in. You can have my phone and
I don't like it, but
you take over.
so this is exclusive access. This is exclusive access into the creepy caravan.
Access all areas at East Elf Lakes, isn't it? And if people want, isn't it like they can hire this out for the night?
Yeah, it's bookable.
Yeah, just £20 a night if you want to stay in here rather than a bivvy. You get full use of all the facilities. Yeah. Actually, we're kind of coming up now to what's probably my favourite little area of the lake. This tight little corner swim.
Just off Wasp Island.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, just round this corner, it's the infamous Bivvy Peg.
The legendary one and only Bivvy Peg.
Yeah.
That's so underfished. So underfished.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a great place for me just to tuck myself away. I mean, I haven't fished so far this session. When I do fish on these sessions here, because it is quite prolific, it's a bit much if people I'm with are catching through the night. I'm catching through the night, so I need to get some sleep. But yeah, normally if I'm going to put the rods out, I'll just set up in this little corner, 2 underarm flicks. I can go out in the dark, and this little corner, I mean, they were here yesterday. There was fish fizzing away, feeding like mad in this corner yesterday, and
I think one of the things with this, like the carp don't really follow the wind.
No.
What they are incredibly good at is escaping from pressure.
Yep.
And this little corner doesn't get fished a lot. And when the lake's busy, they just get in here so quickly.
I think a lot of the bigger ones get in this corner as well, personally. And it's another one of my favourite swims, actually. What's this one called?
Super freaks.
Super freaks. So you've got a lot of scope in this swim. You've got an island straight in front, one to your right.
Some awesome margin spots.
Again, I'm looking at them fizzing out there. Yeah, you've got lots of overhanging trees in the margins. But, I've always done well sort of bait in quite a big area in between the 2 islands, out in front, heavily baiting. I know I get a lot of people message me about how to fish it, and then they're sort of, some take the advice, some don't. I know a lot of people that have gone in with pellets and particles and things like that, and then they get breamed out, roached out.
It's not a particle water at all.
No.
They want to eat good quality fresh boilies, 100%.
Yeah.
You see it every day walking around in the morning asking people how they've done it. It's the boilie anglers that...
Yeah, it's all you need, just out and out boilie approach. And I think they respond to the noise of them going in as well. I think you can, well, personally I'd put in a big bed of bait to begin with, and then after that, it's a bit almost like match fishing tactics in a way. I'd put in a bombardment to begin with, and then little and often, maybe every 15 minutes, a couple of pouchfuls of bait. And I do think that can sort of kickstart things, and I think they are quite inquisitive. They do respond to that, the noise, that plopping of the bait going in. Great, well, I suppose I had better get the kettle on, and then we'll and then we'll go and see Henri, see how he's getting on over there.
He's doing really well, isn't he?
He is.
Loving the fact he moved onto some bubblers this morning and caught one within 20 minutes.
More straight away, yeah.
Really good angling.
Yeah, good skills. Right. Seeing Henri and his dad fishing together really did take me back to when I was a lad, going fishing with my dad, and seeing them both so passionate and enthusiastic about fishing was absolutely fantastic. And seeing Henri reminded me very much myself when I was his age, and it is great to see a young, enthusiastic carp angler at a time when so many other lads of his age are more obsessed with Xboxes than they are fishing boxes. I then had Mark for a 48-hour session, and he really did hit the ground running with this one. So we've been fishing about 4 hours now, and Mark's off to a flyer. We've got a nice solid mirror here of 22.2. What an awesome start that is.
Certainly is, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries. Up until now, I hadn't actually been fishing on this session, but I decided to put a bit of bait in the peg that I was bivvied up on, just to see if there was any sort of feeding response. And within about half an hour, the swim was like a cauldron. It was fizzing up, there was fish rolling and head and shouldering. So obviously I quickly set up a couple of rods and put them over the top of the baited area.
Luxury unit again, mate.
belter.
Well in.
That is a belter. Awesome looking linear. Look at that. That's the nuts. Having caught a couple of smaller fish shortly after dusk fell, I then found myself playing something a little bit bigger. Well, it was a bit of a last minute decision for me to put the rods out tonight, and I'm really glad I did. Managed to get both rods out, just it was getting dark. Fired out a couple of kilo Pacific tuna boilies around it, and then just a short while after that I had a ghostie of about 15-16 pound, and then just a minute ago it rattles off with this, an absolutely awesome looking mirror of 26 pound 6 ounces. This is one of the better fish here in East Elf Lakes, and it's actually my biggest carp caught from the venue to date. So as you can imagine, I'm absolutely over the moon. Well, that's the area that I've been fishing and baiting, where I've caught the 5 carp so far. And as you can see, they are absolutely going off it. It's just like a jacuzzi. Well, it's a wet start to the day. It rained most of the night. I'm pretty damp at the moment, but I'm absolutely buzzing. Ended up with 6 fish through the night. I thought that 26 pounder was going to top it off, but it got even better when I slipped the net under this absolutely awesome linear of 27 pound 4 ounces. What an incredible looking fish. Mark had a few fish as well. I think Mark's now on 5 fish. So yeah, it was a pretty productive night. Oh, it is close as well. 25.10.
Oh.
So this is now Mark's 7th fish of the session, 4th over 20 pound. And not only is this your biggest one yet, it's definitely the best looking one yet.
Oh, definitely the prettiest one.
That is absolutely incredible. I thought this might have just pipped your PB of 26.4. It's just under. It's 25.10, but it doesn't matter, does it?
No, not when they look like this.
That is epic. Well, this is turning into an absolutely unbelievable session. The fish have certainly been responding to those big beds of red fish meals, especially the bigger fish. I mean, between Mark and I, we've now had 17 fish between us in just over 24 hours. Mark's had at least 4 20s. There's one that may have been a 20 that he slipped back very blasé. And I've had the 26 pounder, the 27 pounder, and now this 29 pound 5 ounces. As far as I'm aware, it isn't the lake's biggest fish. It's a fish I don't really recognise. It's got a very distinctive tail and mouth. I don't know what fish it is, but it's absolutely amazing and I'm over the moon. Well, today has been a great day. I've just put back my 10th fish of the session. It's a common of around mid doubles, and Mark has not long put back his 25 pound common. So I decided to celebrate with one of them, a Kebab Land chicken kebab. Probably the best chicken kebab I've ever had, and I do like to sample them when I'm on the road. And I'd say these are probably the best chicken kebabs in the land. Hence the name Kebab Land, I reckon. During that session, the out and out boilie approach really was key. And it seemed that the more bait we used, the more bait we introduced, the more bites we were getting. Whenever the swim would go a bit quiet, giving it another hit of bait would often spark another spell of feeding activity. But as we moved into the second night, hadn't really anticipated using quite this amount of bait, and I did start to run out, and bites did slow down somewhat. But by the next morning, I still had a rather nice result. So it was a pretty quiet night last night. I think running out of bait hasn't helped, and just wasn't able to really keep the fish feeding here. But I have had a new PB. He's in the retainer right now, so let's get him out and take a closer look at him. And here he is, my new PB eel, £2, 15 ounces. Now I know they might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I think they're absolutely amazing creatures. And these days they really are quite rare. I know as a kid I used to catch them from the canals and the rivers quite regularly, but I think this is only the third one I've ever caught on carp tackle, and it is the biggest one I've ever landed. Absolutely fascinating animals. By the end of the session, I'd lost count of the amount of fish we'd caught, but I'm in no doubt, had I have taken more bait, we would have caught more. Those fish at that time were absolutely on it. They were fizzing like mad. They just wanted food. But sadly, I didn't have quite enough to give them. That weekend, I met up with my mate Lewis Porter for a few hours float fishing on a little pond in Lincolnshire. How big do you reckon that is? £5 £5? Right, here we go. Yeah, yes, he's in.
Big Lin. Oh, it's the big Lin. Caravan Park Lin here.
Oh, there we go.
Beautiful.
So the following week, it was time for our family holiday, and we went to Disneyland Paris. It was incredible. The kids absolutely loved it, but for me, the best part of the trip was meeting a giant Smurf. We stayed in the Newport Bay Hotel. Now, anyone that's been there before will know it's on the banks of the main lake, and in that lake is some really big grass carp. So the next morning, down at the breakfast buffet, I took my rucksack and filled it to the hilt with bread, croissants, pain au chocolat to feed the grass carp. We had an absolutely amazing time. The kids loved it, and we already can't wait to go back. Well, next time I am thinking about sneaking in a little travel rod and net and things like that. Bit much maybe, I don't know. Well, I would say August on the whole has been a very good month. There's been some great tutorial sessions, met some great people, caught some great fish, including a few PBs too. I've managed to get the rods out as well, and I've had some fantastic sessions. My lake has come on really well, although I still haven't been able to find the time to do a lot of work that does need doing down there. So that means I'm going to have a very hectic winter doing all those necessary jobs. And perhaps most importantly than anything else, I've got to spend some really good time with my family too. But now we're into September and already a lot has happened. The tutorial sessions have once again been absolutely fantastic. There's been some great fish caught. We've also filmed a new episode of the challenge, and I've been able to catch up on some of the work that needed doing down at my lake. Also, there's been a little project that myself and CC Moore have been working on. This is something that's been going on behind the scenes for quite some months now, something I've been keeping quiet, but maybe I can tell you a little bit more about that next month.